Hi guys, welcome to Hopper's Motorsport Vlogs. Good morning, good afternoon, or even good evening. Welcome to a bit of a vlog today that I've really wanted to get off my chest for quite a few weeks, and I feel like now's the time, and the time is right to potentially get this one out here. Um, should we be worried about the sort of a depleted grid in this season's Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship for 2024? I thought I'd give you guys a bit of my own personal uh, perspective. I've seen a few people do their own, and now it's time for mine. Obviously, this year, we've seen quite a few named drivers going on to pastures new, or even leaving the series um, for numerous reasons. The likes of obviously Rory Butcher's now gone because obviously he wants to concentrate on various other projects as well as having family time. The likes of Jack Butel, Dan Lloyd, and George Gamble have gone to Porsche Carrera, and notably, some guys or some drivers like Stephen Jelly's now gone. Ricky has gone. Ricky Collard's now gone to British GT. So there's quite a substantial number of drivers that potentially have gone um, elsewhere or onto bigger and better things. Is the BTCC not financially stable anymore? Is it becoming a very huge uproaring cost? With basically a manufacturer drive for, like, let's say Napa is way expensive than it would be for an independent team such as One Motorsport. One Motorsport have now decided to pause for 2024 and not be on the touring car grid. They've lost the likes of obviously key sponsors and two very good drivers within Aidan Moffat and Josh Cook. They've now at Speedworks in the satellite team. So, has One Motorsport decided, we're not got the money financially viable, or is there other things? And personally, for a fan of 25 years of BTCC coming up in May this year, I feel like we're back to, you know, the early 2000s where, you know, it seemed to be the likes of 2000 Super Touring. The last year of Super Touring was three manufactured cars, the likes of Honda, Vauxhall, and Ford, all running three cars each. And then obviously, the first year of the new touring car regulations, they had, of course, eight official cars such as the Lexus IS200, the Alfa Romeo 147, the MGZS, the Peugeot 406 Coupe, and the Astra Coupe. It was at least eight cars, you know, on the grid. If they hadn't had the production class or class B, then I think touring cars would have been pretty much in a pretty bad way. The BTCC would have been in a pretty bad way. And, I feel like this season, seeing, now, okay, what's now 23 cars on the grid, it's going to make it a bit more of a tougher challenge, because with 23 cars on the grid, is it going to make it more challenging for the title, with the likes of, most of the cars now, or predominantly most of the cars are all manufactured back now, and there's not really a lot to do. You've got, okay, PMR, which may be, I don't know whether it's going to be independent status or it's manufactured. I don't really know. So, there's a lot to think, and then obviously you got Restart Racing. Yes, that's an independent team. So yeah, it's quite a lot of few, less less independent teams. But for getting a work stripe, you've got to have quite a lot of money and potentially a lot of backing from your sponsors. And I feel like this year is probably, argumentably, from what I've seen at the moment, argumentably, it just seems that the BTCC is in a financial mess, Has it been in a financial mess for a good number of years? Or is it because of the hybrid system it's costing far too much money? Or is it because cars are evolving and to bring new cars onto the grid it's costing a lot of money? And then plus the drivers, are obviously, trying to work long and hard to get on the grid. It's quite it's quite daunting to think that, this year we're kind of facing sort of a uh, early 2000, um, you know, an early 2000 vibe. And I hate to say, of being a fan of 25, coming up to 25 years, it's scary to think what is going on with Britain's premier touring car category, And I don't think personally it's dying of death. People are saying BTCC's dying off, TCR's the way forward and stuff like that. Personally, I don't see the BTCC dying of death. I just think with the costing and the way things are in the world at the moment, especially with the cost of living crisis, etc., stuff like that, is probably what's killing the BTCs. Not essentially killing the BTCC, but it's costing a lot more to be in a works car than it is a non-works car. And to me, the way I see it is, okay, Speedworks satellite team, the likes of Josh Cook and Aidan Moffat, is that going to be manufactured back, or is it an independent entry? Which leaves me to think, okay, if you've got Andrew Watson's in the main Speedworks team, but then you got Aidan and Josh Cook in the other two cars, because they are running four cars this year. The other driver's yet to be announced. There's another driver yet to be announced at PMR. There's another driver to be announced at WSR. So there's quite a few. Ultimately, there's about three drivers yet to have a seat, plus one at team. Essentially what was Team Hard. So it's about four drivers in contention to get either one of them drivers, and we don't know who them drivers are as of yet. And it just seems there's a lot of speculation who's going to go where and what's going to happen. Jade Edwards at the moment is trying to work her socks off to try and get on the grid for this season, and I feel like if you, to get where you want to be at the moment, and things are getting really tough. What are you going to try and do to get out there, to get on the grid, to get racing? There's quite a lot of drivers that have, the likes of Michael Crease last week stated he's going to be, he's not going to be anywhere this year. So argumentatively, there's a lot of things ongoing, and it's very worrying to see what is happening for 2024. And personally, I feel like what is there to get the championship stable. There's no prize fund for winning races or winning the championship, etc. And is that what's driven many drivers that have been on the grid in past seasons away? Because to get into Napa or Alliance Racing, as they're known, to get into that squad, you have to have good money and good sponsorship. Same with WSR, Speedworks, or let alone every car on the grid. You know, and I feel like this year for 23 cars for 2024, yes, it's argumentably going to bring a bit more a different caliber, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough because you're going to have 23 cars that ideally want the same thing to win the championship. However, seeing what's going to happen, you know, with having less cars on the grid, it's still going to be tough because you've still got the likes of Ash Sutton, Tom Ingram, Jake Hill, Colin Turkington, Dan Rowbottom, for example. You've got potentially Dan Camish, Josh Cook, Aidan Moffat. Mikey Doble, Ireland Taylor Smith. Got people that are capable of mixing very good results. Chris Smiley returns with Restart Racing for starters. So, there's a lot of things that there's some drivers in there that obviously have been around touring cars for quite some time now, compared to like to Scott Sumpton. He's new, into BTCC this season. You've got Daryl DeLeon, who's making his full season this season. So really, there's a lot of things that, okay, there's a lot of pressure. The likes of Dexter Pattinson, yes, he was there last season, but he's now gone on to GT racing. So really, there's a lot of drivers, and I don't see many many drivers competing essentially for Jack Sears Trophy honours. This season, okay, you got the likes of Sam Osborne. Yes, he inherited a podium, but unfortunately, because it was inherited, he's now still eligible for Jack Sears Trophy. I think they mentioned he would be still eligible because it wasn't his. He didn't score an outright podium himself. He was given it because of an exclusion. So really, to see what's going on this year in BTCC, we may have only maybe 3, 4, 5 Jack Sears Trophy contenders. We don't know. It's hard to tell. Okay, you've got Nick Halstead, Sam Osborne, Daryl DeLeon, Scott Sumpton. That's about 4 at the moment. But Mikey, yeah, of course, Mikey Doble. So that's probably technically 5. But to me, it shouldn't really matter about how many cars are on the grid. you know, but if it got to a point where it was like 8 BTCC, let's say 4 cars from Napa and 4 from Accelerate, and that was it for this season, put it a scenario. If that was that, then yes, the BTCC argumentably has died a death because over the last 2 seasons, it's the teams that have gone head to head with each other by winning the drivers' title. Accelerate won it in 2022 with Tom Ingram, whereas Alliance Racing slash Napa won it with Ash Sutton last season in 2023. So yeah, if it had just 8 cars, then yes, you could argumentatively admit the BTCC was dying of death. But I don't see it dying of death for years. I think what's happened is the hybrid and stuff like that has basically cost them far too much money, and because the drivers 9 times out of 10 or sometimes aren't happy with the hybrid. The hybrid, Ash Sutton can have 1 second of hybrid and he still bloody wins the race. Or bloody still qualifies on pole. No disrespect to Ash Sutton here because he's a fabulous driver. He can show. You put him in anything, he can do what he can do. Same with Jake Hill. Any driver that knows what they're doing can do it. But it comes a point where you worry about the costing and you worry about what is ongoing. And personally, I think the way I see it and the way I feel for this season 2024 is going to be a weird one. Okay, we've got 23 cars on the grid, but if it got less and less, what are the options? What are the options for potentially making Britain's premier motorsport category, i.e., the BTCC, 10 times better if it got really to low numbers, or would then Alan Gale then go, oh, what have I got to do? But argumentably, you can't just picture, you know, having like it was at the start of 2000 and then going into 2000. Like I say, 2000, you had potentially 9 cars in the touring car field. Okay, you had the likes of the late David Leslie, Colin Blair, and of course Matt Neal racing Nissan Primeras as independent entries. Even the independent entry even the independence class for 2000 was only two cars, or even one car, because if when Colin Blair crashed his car at Croft in 2000, it wrote him off for the weekend, so Matt was only contending for independent wins by himself. So argumentably, that was like kind of like, okay, 10, maybe no, 11 super tourers, but then you had quite a lot. Okay, Class B had quite a few cars at the start of the season, but then the grid started getting bigger and bigger, bigger and bigger as the season went towards its climax. If they hadn't had Class B or production class in 2000, I think you would have been looking at XYZ number of scenarios. BTCC is no more, or BTCC would have to change the rules. If they didn't have the production cars in 2001 at the start of the year, they would have then probably been like, oh, we're in trouble. It's not, it's not good seeing 8, maybe 9. Um, to BTCT class cars, such as I mentioned before, you know, to get if it was that, and obviously no production cars, I think BTCC argumentatively could have died of death in 2001, or let alone 2000. We could have been seeing a different scenario to what we are now. I know the costing is a big issue, and getting sponsors is a big issue, but I can't justify what's going on. We may have, as I say, maybe 5, maybe 6 Jack Sears Trophy contenders this year. We don't know. But to look at it on paper, to write down all the drivers that have been confirmed for BTCC or to be confirmed within the next couple of weeks, the teams that need a seat, like WSR might decide to go back to revert into running 3 cars and not 4 cars. Um, same with PMR. They might decide to just run 2 cars within Aaron Taylor Smith and Mikey Doble. Speedworks might just go, okay, we want to run our 4th car. Time's running out, and then excuse me, and then you've got someone partnering Daryl DeLeon. So there's still stuff, still lot deals to get across the line and get across the finish line and get sealed in for the season. But it's very worrying times sometimes to think, is the BTCC in a financial turmoil? To put it in its content, I don't want people to jump in the comments and say, Hoppers, mate, what you're saying is you're completely saying it's dying of death. From what you're saying. I'm not trying to say the BTCC is dying of death. I'm concerned of what is happening with the BTCC. As I say, I've been a fan for 25 years this year, and it's kind of worrying me to think, okay, what's going on? Why is this happening? But yeah, I feel like, there's a lot going on, and just to put this out here, just why I'm, trying to find it on the phone. The next couple of weeks, the testing at Brands, I don't think it was Croft, but argumentably, in around like 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks away, is media day, and then a week later, well, in a week's time after media day, it's gearing up for rounds 1, 2, and 3 at Donington of the season. So you haven't got long to get into the drivers that want to get the deals together before media day. They've got official test sessions at Brands, or is it Donington, and I think it might have been Brands and Croft. They haven't got long until media day. So if a driver does come in, then they've only got media day to get adjusted maybe to the car. Because if it's a new driver, a new guy, or someone returning, or whatever's happening, or if it's someone that's new to the championship, they only have probably media day. Then the free practice sessions of the championship opening rounds at Donington to get used to the car. But then it'll be like, oh, I only tested at media day, and now I'm doing free practice 1 and 2 at the opening round to the championship at Donington, which is then going to be, I'm going to have to treat every single one of these, including the quick six, including the qualifying, to get into the quick six and stuff like that. You know, the new format. It's going to be like they're going to have to teach. They're going to have to, like, obviously, you know, okay, they might do a shakedown. You never know, but for race weekends, they're going to have to use FP1 and FP2 for a good few rounds to get used to the car and how they want to work it if it's a car they've not raced. So really, it's a bit worrying. But then again, you know, let's put that to one side. BTCC is not dying of death, but it is worrying to find out, you know, drivers have gone on to pastures new, or they've decided, you know, to take a break away from it. Is it becoming more expensive? Are the sponsorship the teams have, or the drivers bring in, not bringing enough money? Are not bringing enough money to the table, or are they bringing enough money to the table? But then it's like, well, hang on, no, it's costing us this much now. You know, it baffles me, and it makes me worried to think, you know, what is going on within the BTCC for 2024. So yeah, it is what it is. But I hope you've enjoyed this vlog, guys. If you have, please do like, comment, and subscribe, all that jazz. I'll see you in the next vlog. If anything else you want to know, then stick it obviously in the comments. But I do feel like what is going on with the BTCC this year, is it costing too much? Is it, or is it other things? You know, do we need to worry? I don't think we do just yet. But it just seems, you know, with what I've seen over the last couple of months, it's very worrying. You know, I know for a fact people might say I'm going to be biased here, but if Dan Rowbottom wasn't on the grid, yes, I'd go and find where he's racing and go and support him. But then I'd be worried to thinking, why is he not in BTCC? Because he wants to be there. But yeah, it is what it is. Let us know in the comments, guys, what you think. Until next time, take care. Ta-ra.